And so until we get to this past week, we had a great week. It came down, and then decided to run back up to exactly where it was. And then now we're seeing it we're on a new week. It is Sunday, 7:45 p.m. On Central Time. Daylight Savings Time just happened, so we're back to that 7 o'clock new week. It was 7, then it turned into 6, now it's back to 7. So this is basically a new week. So if we were to go to the daily, right, and we look at the daily, you can see that the daily, we had all of it running up, all right? Breaking, somewhat, I guess you could say a swing high, giving it a little bit more bullishness, but it did close. Well, it closed above these, which do have wicks, right? So this is basically a break of structure. Break of structure meaning that it does have a little bit more bullish into it than it naturally would. That being said, what we have to do is we have to look for fair value gaps. Right, fair value gaps are what are going to give you the clue as to where it could possibly fall back to before turning around and making another bullish run. Which, if you look at the daily fair value gap here on Avalanche, you have this one spot here. So if I were to draw a fib from the low point to the high point, guess where that is? Exactly at about the 61%. Now, I guess I could go a little bit lower, and your 61% almost splits that directly in half of that fair value gap. So it's almost perfect for smart money to try to push it back to that area, because that is where they want to buy. They want to buy anywhere in between the 61.8% and this 88.6%. The interesting thing is that you do have, I guess you could say, your order block starting up here, which is just below the 50%. I don't think that is where it's going to drop to. I know a lot of people are going to be thinking, hey, this is the possible support point because of how it goes down, comes back up, and then drops. No, in fact, this actually is more of a breaker, right? So, yeah, in a breaker, you have a low, high, lower, low scenario, which means that this whole up, the bullish movement in that low, high, low scenario gives it that breaker. All right, so what I want to do is to even take a closer look at the 4 hour of that breaker. And what you can see is that even here, right here, you have a low, high, and it not really even a lower low. It's almost an equal low. So therefore, this isn't even really much of the breaker. It is this point right here that becomes the breaker, because you have a low, a high, and even this breaks that low. So this becomes the lower low and even goes down even further. So it would be this last up candle right here would probably be your 4 hour breaker, right? Now let's see where this 4 hour breaker goes to. All right, so I'm going to put a box around it, and it's about the same exact area as that daily bearish, that daily fair value gap. So this is looking very, very common. I wouldn't say common, but very familiar as to where you're getting these same coincidences, same confluences as to where the price is more than likely to go. So Avalanche, to me, right now, even though it is in a fair value gap, which is this right here, it's getting about a little bit halfway through. More than likely, it's probably going to pull up, maybe get to the top, maybe get a little bit higher, but I have a feeling it's going to pull back down because of that weekly profile, right? So we started a new week already, so we got all the way up to the top, and as soon as we got all the way up to the top, which was just yesterday, right, and then it starts pulling back for a new weekly profile. So weekly profiles generally have almost, let me see when the last week started. Was it here? Was it the 14th? I do believe it was. I want to pull up my calendar real quick. You won't be able to see it, sorry. But it was the 13th, sorry. It was the 13th, to where we did start a new week last week. So it was this day right here. It was right in here. So weekly profiles kind of have this same thing, right? So if you look at a week, which I'm going to do right now, we're going to look at a week, to where they have, especially in a strong week, where you have a wick on the bottom and you have a wick on the top, right? And almost all weeklies do, unless there's something really odd or difficult about them, like this guy right here, kind of in the middle of nowhere. But there's a reasoning for it. It drops back down. It probably hits a daily bullish order block, so then it pulls back up and it gives rise, and then pulls back down, and then so what we have is this great week that we did have. But what caused it to look like this is, if we look at the daily, is that you start on something like March 13th, right, to where it's already pulling down and it gets to a low, right? And then once it starts to pull back up, that is your wick, right? That is your bottom wick. And then it gets back all the way back to the top, and then it starts to pull back down. Okay, so that is your top wick. So almost all these weeks kind of like leave this kind of similar, formation, I guess you could say. So, I was talking about ALGO earlier, and it kind of did the same thing. Like I said, it this was the area that I thought that most traders would kind of be looking at as far as how they would typically trade, right? So it gets to the bottom, right? So let's go to the 13th, right? So the 13th, it drops, and then Monday is when we can see, or it's somewhat some time through Monday. So this would have been Sunday through Monday. So Monday at 6 p.m. at some point down here is when it starts to rising. And then toward the end of the week, earlier tonight, it starts pulling back, and now it is starting to drop. Right, so these are the type of things that you have to look out for whenever you're looking at weekly formations, at weekly what's the word I'm looking for? I said it earlier, but I can't remember it, so don't even worry about it. But if we look at BNB, if you could show me your support by liking and subscribing this video, even though it looks like I'm wearing nothing, that would be great. I would love you guys forever. If this went over your head, shoot me a message. Hit me up on locals, hit me up on Twitter, things like that. I'll probably be trying to put as much signals out as I can on my locals page and on my core app, right? So every once in a while I'll also do it on Twitter just to kind of like brag about it, like, hey, I hit this, you should have been following me on locals or core, to get this signal, and you would have been up, however many points. But so again, core app to find me for my signals. Locals, this is going to go on locals first, right, as an exclusive content. Then it'll probably be released to the public. But thank you guys for all your support, and if you guys can always remember to do this, it would just help the whole world out, and that would be to always wear your pants.